If you are single and dating, should you be online dating? How do you spot a good one? And what is dating with intentionality? Welcome to Passion Unlimited podcast. I am your host, psychotherapist, author, and founder of Fearless Love, Gianni Adamo. And we are closing out season 4 of Passion Unlimited podcast, which I've titled From Love Trauma to Fearless Love. And it basically, I'm covering topics that I discuss in my Amazon bestseller, From Love Trauma to Fearless Love, so that you can survive, recover, and thrive in love, life, and relationships. So today I am discussing the do's and don'ts of online dating, how to be intentional in your dating, and how to spot the good ones. And I just want to thank you guys for leaving me your reviews and comments, whether you're leaving them for the podcast on Apple Podcasts, or if you're leaving them on Amazon for my book or on Audible for the audiobook. I thank you so much. I encourage you to please leave reviews. That's how this information gets out to other people, because then Amazon and Apple know that this is a good podcast or it's a good book, it's a good audiobook, and they keep organically bringing it up to other people in their searches. So once again, thank you so much for leaving me your reviews and your kind words. Okay, so I'm going to start once again. We are on this kick for the new year with dating and preparing ourselves to attract the love of our life. So I'm going to go over a question that I'm going to answer in today's episode that I received recently. And she says, I am 35 years old, and at my age are all the good ones taken. Should I date someone younger? I've heard that relationships are intentional. How exactly does that work? This is a really awesome question, and thank you so much for submitting it. And I'll just immediately go into the age thing. Usually, if you're in your 20s, that's when you really have to hunker down and be somebody close to you that should probably be in their 20s, no more than early 30s if you're by mid 20s. But once you cross over into the 30s, you're considered a mature adult usually. And so to me, 10 years older, 10 years younger, 10 years after age 35, 10 years plus or minus, it's pretty much okay, because you're going to have a lot of the same types of culture, hopefully, or just generation. Because what happens is there's a generational gap. And of course, there's cultural gaps that need to be bridged if you're much younger than your partner. But within a 10-year gap, you're pretty good. Okay, so that's the age thing. So let's talk about dating with intentionality. And ladies, when everyone should be dating with intentionality, both men and women. But ladies, I want to speak to you because you are in charge of a relationship. And even though we are generally the receiving energy and the feminine energy receives, while the masculine energy is the one that pursues and usually goes out and chases, as women, we are also very intentional. And this is not being part of the receiving and the following energy. That doesn't make us passive whatsoever. No passive women here. Absolutely not. Ladies, you are in charge of a relationship. That means you need to be super intentional about what you want in your life. You need to be clear about who you are and what you really are seeking. And you also, I want to start out with that your number one need as a woman, number one and the most important thing that a woman needs is safety and security with the man she is with. And that's not just physical and sexual safety and security, but emotional safety and security. We've got enough people who are narcissistically abused, which is all emotional abuse. I think we're so now educating everybody about this, so that most of us are now aware that our emotional assets need to be guarded. That means you need to guard your hearts, ladies. And seeking a partner, and you're right off the bat, you are seeking for someone and wanting someone who you feel safe and comfortable with. Okay, so emotionally, you need to be feeling that emotion. If you're feeling anything other than that, I would be questioning that. Okay, so dating with intentionality. Your first need is to be safe and secure with a man, ladies. And you want to be clear about who you are and what you seek in a relationship. That means being clear about your values and your goals and what you want for your future to look like, and even the qualities that you want to have in a relationship, such as most of us want um, fidelity, open and honest communication. We want reliability and dependability, which means a person has integrity. So these are just some basic minimal things. Of course, respect is another. We want support. There's a lot of common things that we are all seeking. So be clear on what you're seeking and what you want. Okay, so last week we talked about that you need to be emotionally available. That also means that the person you're looking for is also emotional available. So when you're dating, when the person is coming across as being frozen and not being emotionally available, this is a bit of a red flag. The minute that you sense that this individual is not emotionally available, they're not being open and honest, they're not honoring your feelings, that's a red flag. So a man who is ready for commitment is usually doing his best to be available to you. So therefore, you are looking for a person who is not married or separated, because a person who is separated is actually still married legally, even if they're in two different households, and even if it was a 10-year separation, you don't get involved with those individuals. They're not truly available for a long-term relationship. Okay. And so when a man values himself, he decides that he wants success in an intimate relationship or a long-lasting relationship, he will usually aim to get to know you and to gain your trust slowly in order to build a meaningful relationship. He's not going to waste your time, for self-gratification and just looking to use you. So to me, that's another red flag when somebody, or a man, because I date men, is just looking to get something from me. Even if it's something as stupid as just like a lot of advice, because I'm a counselor, I don't want that kind of relationship. I don't want to be placed in a position that I'm providing all this information to them for their benefit. That's not something that's equally yoked for me. So I am looking for someone who can hold their themselves as my equal and bring something to the table to support me and to expand my life to be better and greater with them. So a man will, again, with that, a man who's really ready for love and relationship and long-lasting, healthy relationship, he is ready to bring the best version of himself. Okay? And he will respect your power and he will respect your independence. He's not going to be looking to control you and manage and micromanage every second of your day. And he's going to want to contribute into your life. So he wants to know that he is a valuable player in your life, like bringing things to you that you find meaningful and exciting, or that help you to grow in your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth. Because unfortunately, a lot of women have very low self-esteem. And a lot of guys know that, and either they use it against you or they're going to use it to help you feel like the queen that you are. Okay, so when dating, do know that you are who you are and what you want. That means that you're going to become impeccable with your words, ladies, and communicate clearly and honestly about who you are and what you seek in a relationship. Do not hide the fact that you want children. Do not hide the fact that you want marriage. In fact, recently I'm doing an experiment. I'm on one of the dating apps, and I put my best pictures up there, and I put, the information that in my profile that's necessary for them to know a little bit about me and what I seek. And at the end of everything, I said, only swipe right on me if you are dating to get married. In other words, do not waste my time if you're just dating casually, because I am going to figure that out very quickly, and I'm not going to waste my time with a casual dater. I am looking for the man who's ready to commit his life to his wife and his family. And most likely in my age bracket, it will be for a second or third time around. Or perhaps he's a widower, and again, it will be a second or third time around because I'm in middle age and I'm dating in middle age. Okay, so be very clear, ladies, what you seek and what you want, and put that in your profile. Do not be shy about it, because all you're going to do is you're going to push aside all of the players, all of the commitment folks, all of the people who are recently divorced and cannot and give their hearts to another person because they got to go through the grief and heal their hearts. Those people just need to date casually right now. But for those who have done their job of healing and restoring their hearts and they're ready to recommit, that's what we're here for, finding real love. Okay, so I want you to be very clear on your profile and what you're looking for. Okay, so when you are dating, and this is going to be for dating, whether it's online or just organically, you're meeting someone at the supermarket or at church, or outside walking, because now most of us are outside walking and doing our workouts outside with this pandemic. Do trust your gut, and never ignore the red flags. Never, never, never ignore the red flags. Never ignore your gut. Your gut is that little hunch that says something is up. I may not fully understand this or may not have the data to back up what I'm feeling, but I am feeling like a little scared, a little anxious, a little concerned, a little confused. There's something is up with this person. I remember I was on a first phone call with someone from an app that I had connected with. And after the first phone call, my gut said to me, this feels like he could be married. The whole conversation was a little weird. It felt like, initially he didn't pick up knowing that I would be calling, or whatever the situation was. He couldn't pick up. He called back within a minute. Then it was like a quick conversation. Like he needed to get off. I needed to go off, whatever. It just was so discombobulated. But what my gut was saying to me was like, this feels like this person is married and like he doesn't have the privacy. So like he has to like go run to a bathroom in order to hide and talk to you on the phone. So trust those initial things. Eventually, what I discovered is that the gentleman actually had an addiction. And so that wasn't going to work because he was, again, not really available. And he was already married to his addiction. Anyone who's got an addiction is married to their addiction. And you consider that as that's who they're married to. And you keep on walking to the other side. You keep on going. So that was something that I had felt intuitively. And I just put a marker on that. I didn't react to it. But as I got to speak to him a little bit more, I started to put the pieces together and I understood this guy is dealing with a porn addiction and he just needed to get himself squared away every time I would call before picking up. It was just a little weird, plus a few other things that happened. So anyways, you'll figure out these gut and what the gut is telling you if you continue the conversation, but do not attach yourself anytime soon, because once you understand what's going on, you need to remove yourself as quickly as possible when someone has a toxic addiction. Okay. Do also, so if there are no red flags, you want to date until you are absolutely sure that this is not the right person for you versus, yes, this is the one. Because as a woman, we generally need more time to understand and know for sure if we are with the right person. We really need to know the man's personality. We need to know, if our values really are lining up. We need to know if they're really real and genuine. We need to know if they really are emotionally available for us. We need to know if their goals and our goals match. Do they respect us? Is this a game? Do their words and their actions match? Because if they don't match, then there's no real integrity. And we don't want to be dating men without integrity, because this is where we go off then to the world of narcissists and the world of predators. So we want to stay clear from those individuals because they're never going to give us a healthy relationship. We stay in the, the straight and narrow road of impeccable words and behaviors align. Okay. So no, none of this didn't show up to a date. None of this last minute setting up dates with you. Those are all red flags. A man takes his time, sets up the date a few days in advance so that you can prepare. You can, if you need to buy a dress, if you need to go get your nails done, if you need to go get your hair done, whatever you need to do, you have the time to do it. Okay. You're not his buddy. So you're not just showing up, disheveled. You want to put your best foot forward. All right. So the other things you want to do when dating is you want to pace the rate at which you see each other and the exchange of information. So don't be so readily open and available for everything and anything. That just is a sign of not having good boundaries. And ultimately, a man does need to feel like he's earned your time and attention. So do pace your self-disclosure in order to create some mystery and to foster time on reflecting on how things are really going. And I know that when I personally had been targeted by the narcissist, they are always on the grooming and the love bombing. So there is no room for you to breathe when there's love bombing going on, because it's every day texting, every morning, every night. There possibly could be gifts constantly being given or sent to you. You don't have time to breathe. You can't reflect. And if I had time really to reflect what was going on, I would have understood, but I didn't have time to reflect. So now that you know that you need to pace self-disclosures, pace how much time you're spending together. This is going to not only allow for room for mystery and just to give a little je ne sais quoi feeling, but also give you time to understand whether or not this person is right for you. Oh, and by the way, the whole mystery and alluring thing is sexy for a woman to be a little mystery, not give up so much of herself so quickly. But when a man is mysterious, that is not really alluring. That is actually a red flag. Again, a man who is narcissistic or a predator is usually living a double life. So therefore, you're going to feel that mystery and that unknown. And that should be a red flag, ladies. So this is why a real man is concrete. He gives you solid answers about when he's going to be available, where he wants, like where you guys are going. He's okay with that. He's going to really tell you when he got divorced. It's not a few years ago. When exactly did you get divorced, and how many relationships have you had? And whatever the questions are that you want to know, there are going to be solid, concrete answers that you should be able to find answers to. And usually if you do a little bit of a background check, you can, double check. All right. Also do have boundaries and standards, ladies. You have the responsibility. Once again, you are the managers of a relationship. That means you're also the manager initially with the dating, which is so the opposite of what we think. Because, again, the men are the pursuers, and we receive and we accept either his pursuits or we don't, or we send the signals and we flirt and let them know that we're interested so that they can pursue and not be just constantly like pursuing women that are not interested. And so, but we are not a passive participant here. We are very active, ladies. We are extremely active. Again, you are the manager of the relationship, and you are in charge also here of letting the man know where your boundaries are. So that means, where are your physical boundaries? Where are your sexual boundaries, ladies? Where are your financial boundaries? Where are your informational boundaries? It's so nice in the beginning, when we have clicked and we just want to keep talking and talking and talking, but that's not always the best case, to be spending the 4 hours at night, not getting sleep, and getting to know someone so fast, so quickly, and then falling in love so fast, so quickly, and then finding out later, because this happened so fast and so quickly, we missed, a whole month of dating and understanding that this person has some major red flags. So we need informational boundaries, we need financial boundaries, we need sexual boundaries, and physical boundaries, and you need to figure out where you're comfortable. And that also means, that there is a giving and receiving of information. So if you're giving out all the information, he's giving very little, that's a red flag. You should be in charge of asking a ton of questions and letting them answer, and you can respond and share about your life in those particular areas as well. The emotional boundaries are particularly very interesting also to look out for and guard, because again, spending a lot of time and divulging a lot of information feels so good in the beginning, but it can also drive you right into a really crazy situation. So it's important to spend time apart. Both of you are free to be with friends and family and other individuals pursuing your own interests. And you don't need to be getting permission from somebody else to go do those things. You need to be your own person, and if that's a threat to the person that you are dating, then you can say goodbye, because that's a huge red flag. Okay. So we want to encourage our separateness and our togetherness when we are dating. If somehow your separateness is being infringed upon, that's a problem. But I also want to say something there, and it's the people with addiction, they have a very separate life. So I'm not talking about that separate life. That's the dark and, ominous situation that you need to see as a red flag and move on. Separateness means that you have your own hobbies, you have your own interests, you have your own friends. So therefore you can go do that time with yourself and those people, or you and your alone time without this other person infringing upon that. So long as you're carving out time for them and then time for your friends and yourself, you're good. Having balance, that would be the key there, balance. Also, having physical boundaries means that taking your time and not to do anything you're not ready for. And that actually includes your first kiss. I usually do not kiss on the first date. And I don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe anybody anything. Your time and your presence is enough. It is the pleasure of your company. They should be thanking you for the pleasure of your company, because as a lady, we are loving, we are authentic, we are compassionate, we are smart. So we can laugh, we can ask smart questions, we can, engage them. So it's not just waiting for the man to engage us, we can engage them and have a beautiful moment. So again, we are enough. We are worthy just as we are. We don't owe our dates anything. You do not even need to give a first kiss if that's not what you feel like you want to do. And for me personally, because I don't like rushing the physical, because that can trigger the chemistry to go off too soon. And then you're blinded by the chemistry, basically, and the love. I usually do not recommend kissing on the first date. All right, so is online dating safe? I hear horror stories, and that's another question that was sent in to me, and that's a really good question. So as I mentioned to you last week, the online dating is experiencing a boom with this pandemic, a boom, because we're lonely and isolated, and so we need companionship and love. And so the best way to do that is to get online and find a mate. So go online and find a mate. But I'm going to give you some do's and don'ts of the online dating world so that you can stay safe and successful and intentional about finding true love in 2021, because we have a new year. Okay. So ladies, again, you are in charge. If you're going to get anything out of this podcast today, is ladies, you are in charge. You are to be extremely intentional and put yourself out there, because the biggest complaint men have with any kind of dating situation is, especially on the online world, is it's crickets for them. They, send a hello, they send a wink, whatever it may be, and there's like no response. And that's fine if you're not interested in the guy. If you don't want to hear from him, great, do not respond. But I want you ladies to be in charge. When you read the profiles and look at the pictures, if you have an interest, you initiate the conversation. Do not necessarily wait for the guy to initiate it. Initiate it, let him know that you have some interest. But then what do you do after you initiate, or if he initiates? You're in charge of asking him lots and lots of questions. I recommend to make sure that you have at least 3 to 5 foundational questions that you have that are very important to you to ask a man as you are on the online dating. I always want to make sure that they are divorced, and I want to know how long they've been divorced. I want to know if they have children. I want to know like the ages of the children. I want to know if they're spiritual and if they can describe their spirituality to me, because that's an important piece for me. All of these things are important to me. Family is important to me. Marriage is important to me. Spirituality is important to me. So you figure out what is important to you. I also, because I live in South Florida and people here have a lot of recreational time, this is not the Northeast where people are just working, and they're just workaholics. So I also ask them to describe what their typical day looks like. I want to know that their life is purposeful and they're just not, doing nothing with their life all day. It's important to have a purpose and meaning in your life. So I ask all of these questions because I know what's important to me. So you need to find out, once again, who you are and what's important to you. Find 3 to 5 extremely important questions to you and find those things out online before you exchange telephone numbers. Okay? Beware of the evasive answers. Beware of the person who doesn't answer your questions. Beware of the person, the man, let's call it what it is, the man, because ladies, I want you to be in charge. So we beware of the man who changes the subject, and beware of the man who wants to know about your identity, things that will identify you too quickly. Those are all red flags, and you should just give them a couple of questions, a couple of tries, and see how they respond, and just move them along if there's not concrete answers coming to you. Again, do not disclose personal information because, again, we've got plenty of predators and scammers on the online world. That's where you're hearing all these horrible stories. Don't give them your address or your money. Enough said on that. So, okay, your goal is to figure out if you feel comfortable with him to progress to a phone call. And then after the phone call, and that's usually, I'll speak 30 to 60 minutes. So like 30 minutes to an hour, I'll speak to someone. And if I already felt comfortable with the online communication, and then I feel comfortable with the phone conversation, then I will let that man know. I feel very comfortable. I'd love to meet you. Let me know if you want to get together. It's that simple, because he should then initiate the first date. So again, ladies, you are letting him know what you're comfortable with and where you are and what you want to know. He then takes the initiative to create the date. All right, so yes, do not become a pen pal. That's a red flag. People who are pen pals, they're usually very lonely. They're usually people that a lot of times who are dealing with addiction, so they cannot do relationships. Or scammers who are looking to take advantage of you financially as well as emotionally. So don't involve yourself with pen pals. Okay. So I usually want to meet the person, the man that I'm speaking with, within a couple of weeks after we started our communication online and we had our first conversation. I don't continue to do a lot of texting. I let them know that because again, I'm not looking for a pen pal. I'm looking for an actual date. So if you're serious about having a relationship and getting to know me, then we need to schedule a date. So he's in charge of that. So within a couple of weeks, and I've already let them know that I would be happy to meet them. If there isn't much communication or if they just want to be stuck on pen pal stuff, I block them and I unmatch myself from them and move on. There's too many fish in the sea, ladies. Let's not waste so much time on people who are not ready and available for a relationship. And here with the pandemic, it's safe to do virtual dates. I believe I did in the summer, I believe I did a virtual, an episode on fun ideas for virtual dates. So you can go through my library here of podcasts, of episodes, and see which one it is that I did the virtual dates episodes. So that's a really good option. That's really also a good option for those of you who are dating long distance. But if you are comfortable and dating face-to-face, you can show up to your date at a public place. with a mask, a face mask on. Okay, so that also will keep you safe from this pandemic. Then also, please get their names before you meet anybody in public or wherever. You get their last name. Your safety is priority. That's how we started the show today. That you're intentionally dating, and your number one need is to be safe and secure. If a man is not willing to give up his last name, you know you're dealing with some sort of scammer and predator. So you move on quickly. Okay. Or a man who's just a child who has not matured, and he still thinks that he's still in high school and he's still like hiding out and he's a lot of trouble. So don't go for the man child either, who has to mature and grow up. He's not ready for a lifelong, lasting, healthy relationship. All right, so beware of the excuses and cancellations and wanting to move communication onto like WhatsApp or other platforms and away from the app where you guys have met. That's a big red flag. Beware of the fake profiles on Facebook. That still goes on today. And do a background check. There are companies out there that you can just Google that do background checks for like some membership, usually like $20 a month or something. I don't remember. And they will do continuous background checks on all the people that you put in through that app. If you don't want to be paying money to have an app for background checks, then you can Google their names. You can Google their names on LinkedIn. Like just go on LinkedIn, find out their names and find out, do they really work at where they said they work? So you can do some initial background checks on your own just by putting their names on Google. I remember a few years back, I put in the name of a man who's an attorney. And when I put in his name, oh, well, he had a history, big time history. He was like the captain of a police department in one of the neighboring towns. He had been fired. He had this whole love triangle. He exposed the wife of one of his people that he had under, and one of the police officers that he had under him, because he was sleeping with his wife. He posted naked pictures of her all over the internet. Wow, narcissist, sociopath quality of a man. And I remember his title on his profile was good guy. He was a good guy. Oh my God, until I did his background check, and he had nothing to do with being a good guy. Not one thing. You don't have an affair with someone's wife underneath you, and then you don't expose her naked body on the internet to humiliate her and humiliate your the employee beneath you. Total narcissist. So ladies, please do a background check as little as possible, even if, as much as possible, excuse me, even if it's as little as just going on Google. And that was found like on page 3. So don't get stuck just on page 1. Do go down into the different pages. In fact, that guy made the national news. That's how I found it. And that was years ago that had happened. So I'm so glad I saw that. All right. So if everything pans out, you ladies select the public place you feel comfortable in meeting, not the man. You do. He says he wants to take you out. Well, you let him know where you're comfortable. And then you're going to take his name and his telephone number, and you're going to provide that information to a trusted friend in order to make sure that if something does happen to you, I've had stories of clients and friends who were roofied on a date. Some of them were date number 3. It wasn't just on date number 1. So please, ladies, be aware that you can be roofied even on date 3 or 4 or 5. So please keep your antennas up for the red flags and trust your gut, and always have somebody know where you're going to be. Your safety is priority and is number 1. If a man is not willing to put your safety and priority as number 1, then he's not worth going out on a date. That's just the way it goes. Your safety is the most important. So with that, once again, we're going to conclude this with how somebody makes you feel is very telling. Are you feeling comfortable with the texting? Are you feeling like he's being intrusive? Or is he intriguing? Is he charming? Are you feeling charmed? Are you feeling frustrated or confused? Or are you feeling excited? check all those feelings out. Notice them. Do not disregard how someone is making you feel. Always trust your gut. And if it feels off or wrong or bad or negative, I would let that go. Trust your gut and intuition. There's plenty of fish in the sea. Enjoy yourself, have fun. And until next time, please subscribe to the podcast, Passion Unlimited Podcast, on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You can find the Passion Unlimited Podcast group on Facebook group. You can reach out to me on fearlesslove.net. And you can even subscribe for a free 15-minute consultation. I also have free gifts, not free, but gift certificates that you can buy if you want to gift a consultation to a friend. And I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break. And season 5 will be starting in February 2021. So until next time, we will see each other or hear each other or hear from me soon.